Hello and welcome to ToRAISE Questions, the doula podcast. Hi, Thérèse.
Hi, Sarah. Hi, everyone.
I'm Sarah Ellen Short. I'm here with Thérèse Hakoun, who is Executive Director of ToLabor, which is a national doula training and certification organization. And this is episode 35.
Wow.
Crazy.
I know.
So we've been doing these little tips at the beginning of episodes. Excuse me. And the tip that I want to share is using Christmas lights or candles, electric candles in birth. As most of you know, most hospitals are not going to let you use real candles. For home births, candles are lovely, real candles.
With an eye on them at all times, because I was just at a birth where the candle wax was just dripping profusely down their
nightstand or something.
Yes.
Yeah. So what I like to do is take a strand of white Christmas lights with a white cord instead of a green cord. And when the person is in, for hospitals and birth centers. And
why the difference between green and white?
Because the hospital's white and the white cord kind of disappears and makes it just look like, I mean, it's a minor,
it's
minor
a great
issue.
Tip. No, that's what it's about.
What I do is the hospital, the one hospital I go to the most in the birthing rooms, they all have this nice ledge by the window. And so rather than hanging the lights up, I just kind of stretch them along this window ledge. And then if you turn the lights off, it's just enough light to see, but not, because the nurses don't want it to be totally pitch black. They don't like that. Often. And then the other thing I really love, and I was just thinking about this, is when you take it in the bathroom, you unplug the string, take it in the bathroom. Another doula taught me this, and you plug it in and pile it in the sink. And then I was just thinking, is that a risk of being electrocuted? I think if it's not near the electric source and you don't put any water in it. But she's like, it's just this nice little bowl. It makes this little, you fill it with the Christmas lights. You plug it in next to it. It makes this nice little glowing. But now I'm wondering if I should be giving.
As long as you don't turn on the water.
But so you send. In our last episode, we were talking about sending a woman into the bathroom with her partner or support just to get out of her head a little bit. And a little bit of light, a bright light in the bathroom is not conducive to a good labor pattern. So if you send her in there and if you don't want to put it in the sink, if you maybe wrap it around like the towel rack or something, and it just gives a little bit of light. So that's my tip of the day.
And I just wanted to add into her tip, which is Christmas tree lights. I think it's beautiful, excellent. Just really gives that kind of magic feel to it, like you're saying in the room. And the other alternative is for the bathroom specifically is like a pocket flashlight. Yep. And you can turn on the pocket flashlight and put it in the sink or just leave it on the counter or on the floor. And it creates enough of a light without it being blaring on anybody. Yep. And that'll be another way to do it without electricity.
There's a midwife who has a flashlight that is waterproof and she puts it in the tub and she uses it to check people. But I think that it also could be really pretty, like lights in the tub. Yeah. And candles, you can get little battery operated candles often at the dollar store, 6 for $1. Right. I lose those like crazy and my kids take them out of my doula bag and play with them. But that can be a good option too.
Absolutely. Thanks, Sarah.
Yeah. So today we're going to talk about backup doulas. And this is going to be, I think, kind of a short one. But this is an important topic. So we have a couple of questions we posed on our Facebook page a while back. This is an issue that is big. I want to sort of set the stage by saying, I won't set the stage. I will ask you, do you think you should have a backup for every birth?
Absolutely. I mean, it's one of the things we talk about in workshops as from the time you think you want to do this work, you should be thinking, who in my community can I pair up with, not maybe as a partnership, but as somebody who I feel you feel comfortable being at a birth if you're not able to, that it's somebody whose personality is somewhat similar. Their philosophy on things matches yours on how they approach their clients, because we have no guarantee that we can be present 100% of the time at anybody's birth. And even if you never go away, don't have a very eventful life, you could be sick, your car could break down, a family member could have an emergency. I mean, things happen, and we do the best that we can to be present with our clients. If we can't be, we have had plenty of time to figure out, is there somebody else that could be in that emergency situation? And then we also want to have a life. I mean, this is something we talked about in another episode about being on call. You have a life. So there are going to be certain circumstances that you are going to realize that you do not want to miss. A special occasion in your life that you know that you don't want to miss, or days that you're going to be out of town. That's not you. That's your right to do. That's what you need to do, but you have made a commitment to a client, so you need to be able to have somebody present for them while you're not going to be available. Or at least, even if they don't end up going to the birth, the backup person, that client knows they were covered during that time. And then the third reason why is if you have even just one client a month that you're on call for, that could be, okay, they're due January 15th. Well, they could go into labor today. You have somebody due February 1st, they could go into labor today. I mean, so you need a backup. You could have two births happening simultaneously.
Yeah, that's happened to me once, and it was a 38-week and a 42-week that went on the same day.
Exactly.
So they were due a month apart.
Exactly. And then there's the other reason that we have also discussed is sometimes, and this is individual circumstances, how doulas deal with this, but for some doulas, this is really important. They may be out of labor for a really long time, and they are having a really hard time staying focused and staying present at the labor because they're so tired. They are so overwhelmed with their lack of sleep that they need to leave, and they can't leave because they're with their client. But if they've had a pre-arrangement with a backup doula, their client knows that if a circumstance like this were to arise, that this may be needed, they can call in the backup doula and either leave for a few hours to be able to sleep, or maybe turn the rest of the birth over to that person. And I know that you've had to do that, Sarah, and many doulas have, and others have never done it, but they have it in place just in case they find themselves in that really intense circumstances. So
I was back up recently for a woman who had her own ultrasound. Scheduled. The doula was scheduled for an ultrasound at 5:00, and the woman went into labor that morning, and she said, "Can you just come be with her for an hour, while I go to my ultrasound?" Because she decided that was something she needed to do.
Or like I saw recently on one of our message boards that a mom's little one suddenly was needing to go to the hospital. They were really sick. And she put it out there she had specific people that she knew she could call upon, but she, at that her desperate moment, was like, can I have backup for my, clients just right at this moment? And I think that is totally legitimate, and if that's what you come to, but ideally you want to have that already in place.
So that's interesting, so you're saying unequivocally have a backup.
Absolutely.
Because I think, I was going to say that, and then I don't want to, there's lots of people that don't do it, and I don't want to offend anybody, but I guess what we're saying is we'd really like you to consider, there's lots of people that only get a backup if they get sick, then they'll say, I need a backup for the next 3 days.
Right.
But they don't have a backup unless they feel like they need one.
And I
would almost say the majority of doulas I know are like that.
See, and I don't, I do not fault anybody for doing that by any means, as long as they feel like at the last moment they can call upon people to do that. But I think what they're not maybe taking into consideration is their client at that point, because the client should be made aware of as best as possible, if they should know who that person might be. That would be coming, because if they like their doula, they're probably going to trust whoever she picks. But wouldn't it be nice if they were given the opportunity? Isn't it important that they be given the opportunity to be able to at least converse with this person via telephone or meet them one-on-one, just in case?
So let's talk about that. So what I do is I offer, if I think I'm going to be at the birth and there's no reason I'm not going to be there, but I always have a backup. I tell the person, and when they're signing the contract, here's who my backup is for your birth. Usually it's the same person for every birth, but if for whatever reason it's somebody different. So they know the name, and I explain everything, and I ask if they want to talk to them. And 99% of the time they say no. Where that differs is if I take somebody, and I didn't used to do this. I've gotten more comfortable with it. If I take somebody who's due February 1st and I know that I'm traveling on February 8th, and I tell them that, of course, I say, look, I used to not take people. If I wasn't going to be in town for the whole 2 weeks before and after, I wouldn't take them. And then I saw how difficult that is to manage. So what I do now is I just say, I'm going to be gone 2 days here or 3 days here or a week here. I probably wouldn't. I don't know. I mean, some doulas I know, even if they're going to be gone on the due date, they will take the person because, like, what's the chance the person's going to have the baby on the due date? But anyway, if I know for sure I'm going to be gone, I'm more likely to encourage a meeting or a phone call. If I think I'm going to be around and I think I'm not going to need the backup, if I offer, and if they say no, because so this gets into one of the other things we were going to talk about today. My voice is a little off, but payment. So the way that I do it is I don't pay the backup unless she goes. And so for that reason, I try to limit her time if she's not going to make any money.
Gotcha.
So, most doulas are willing to have a 15-minute conversation on the phone with somebody. But when I've had clients who want to interview and do a full-on, hour-long interview with a backup, which is rare, I just feel bad.
Right,
and
I get it.
Maybe on a one-off, I might give the doula a little bit of money in that case. But normally what I do is split the fee. And so if I've only had to use a backup once, and it was the one I was talking about before, where I had a 38-week and a 42-week that went on the same day. And I was with the 42-week all day for 26 hours when the 38-week went into labor, and I just knew I was too tired to be with her. She ended up having her baby like 7 hours after the other one, right next door to each other. Yeah. So I actually was with both of them for a little while and just decided I wasn't giving either of them my best self. Anyway, that's the only time I've ever used a backup. And my agreement with my backup was always that she gets half if she goes to a birth. She gets half of the fee. And then we go do the postpartum visit together. And I have backed up somebody else, and we did it the same way. I backed up somebody else whose client went into labor. She was out of town. She went into labor at 37 weeks or something unexpectedly, and I went, and she paid me half. What other arrangements do you hear?
I think that was what I always felt was the comfortable thing for me to do as well, because then I got paid for my time prenatally because I had been paid half the money up front, and then the person who actually did the birth got paid for their work. And because I set it up that I don't get paid until after the birth, there was me already having spent the money. Now I have to give it to this other doula, and the client didn't have to be involved in feeling like they were caught in a grip of some kind. It was clear who they were going to pay. Some people find that they just do reciprocal free care. Like, okay, well, I did that birth for you. That's not a problem. But can you be my backup for a birth that, in the future, and I won't pay you if you end up going. And so some people, and sometimes they never get called to do they never have to give the reciprocal care, but it seems it's a friendly way of doing things. Yeah. And then there are other thoughts, and this is, I think, legitimate as well, which is the payment for the birth, but also if say it's going to be 3 days or a week of being on call, because, a lot of this has to do with vacation times also that people take, or, they might be just going away for a 3-4 day weekend, paying the doula who's on call a daily fee. And it can be a minimal. It can be $25 a day or $50 a day. But just because she is she's putting her life out there on hold for that person as well.
That's what I was just going to bring up. It's really different when you have an arrangement with the doula where she's like, will you back me up on this birth? I'm probably going to be there. It's fine.
Right.
My life doesn't change.
No.
I'm just, if she calls me to let me know something's happening, I'm going to have plenty of notice.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to avoid going, to making plans or whatever. But if she's going to be out of town and I am essentially the primary doula and on call, it is a little different. So
and
that's
I think
a good point.
and some people think, well, that's what she gets paid for on the other half.
But if you don't go to the birth, you still were on call for a week.
Exactly.
And I've definitely been in that position where I've been on call for a week and then not gone to the birth.
Exactly. And so that's when they can negotiate that. So it can be, okay, I'm going to pay you for this week that you're on call for me. If the baby comes, you'll get the second half of the fee as well. But if the baby does, and then they come back though, and the baby hasn't been born.
They just get paid their daily fee.
They just get paid their fee. And I think that's fair. But again, it's not a right or wrong. It's just figuring out what feels comfortable with you and your backup people. And I do think it's hard because backup people usually are doulas who also have active clients. So it's really advisable to see if your backup doula is doula A. Mm-hmm. Doula A needs a backup doula.
Right.
Also.
Right,
and
right.
It can't be you necessarily
and you
at
need
that
to
time.
Understand that if her client goes into labor at the same time, she's going to go to hers instead of yours.
And I think I shared this on one episode that there was a doula who her client went into labor prior to at 37 weeks, I want to say. And technically, by contract, the doula was not obligated to do anything because she wasn't technically on call for her client any longer at that moment, and she was not available. She was not in town. But this good doula reached out to the backup and said, can you be with her? And the good backup said, absolutely, which was wonderful for this doula, for this birthing woman. But then as Murphy's Law goes, that backup doula's client went into labor. And so that good backup doula called in her backup to be with the original woman. And so in the end, this woman ended up having 3 doulas for her birth.
Wow.
But she was what her response to that was she felt so loved and so cared for that these 3 women had figured out how to cover her. So, and, in that case, I don't know what they worked out financially, but my point being was that the backup doula needs to have a backup also for her births.
Definitely.
Yeah, you got to. Sometimes that's why people have 2 backups.
Definitely.
That they can call on and they can say to their client, I actually have 2 backup doulas. Here are their names. One of them will be specifically on call for you during that time. But if for some reason she isn't available, then the other one would be available.
I would be interested in talking, if we have a listener who's a very, very active, busy doula, I'm talking 5, 6, 7 clients a month. I'd be interested to hear how often this comes up for you, what your situation is.
Send us an email. And maybe we could have you on the phone or live to talk about it.
So I think we've covered most of our topics related to backup doulas, actually. Do you pay? Do you introduce your client to the backup? We talked about that. If you miss the birth, who does the postpartum visit? So I shared that I'd like to do it together. If I had to choose, I probably would say the person who's at the birth does a postpartum visit.
I absolutely think the person who's at the birth needs to be present for the postpartum, whether you're there or not for it. I think they absolutely need to do the initial. I think what you would do, I think the ideal is both of you are there, so then you can hear the story directly and see the whole thing, and be connected. But I really want to stress that you, even if you don't do the initial postpartum with them, you should be verbally in contact with them via phone after you return, and you should go see them in a separate postpartum visit. You just carry forward because you don't want them to think it was all about the birth for you.
Right.
That you made a connection with these people.
Right.
And yes, they made a connection at the end with the one who actually was there when the baby was born, but they need to know you cared about them, not just being at a birth.
Yeah.
So that's important. And the other thing I just want to stress in our which it was brought up initially, was try very hard. As a matter of fact, it really is important that who you choose is somebody you feel comfortable represents who you are.
Yep.
They are not you, but they have to feel like they haven't lost you. That and that this person has a behavior that you would feel comfortable with as well, because not all doulas are the same.
Right.
And so finding that person you really do trust is important for you, your reputation, but most specifically for that client to feel comfortable.
Maybe we'll do a topic in the future about how to find that person.
Yeah.
How to figure out who's like you.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. Well, that was a nice way to finish up a conversation. Thanks, Sarah.
Yeah. Well, thanks for talking today, Therese.
Yes.
It's a good topic, I think.
Yeah, it's something that everybody has to think about, and I don't think people give it I think initially people think, oh, backup, but they don't really have they don't understand the importance of it.
Yeah.
And then I think you do a couple births and it starts to become really important.
So if you have a crazy backup story,
let us know.
A wild backup story, or if you're a super busy doula that relies heavily on backups, if you feel like you never use a backup unless you're, get in a car accident, or if you feel like you're pretty willing to use a backup for anything, if your kid has something going on, you feel very comfortable using backups. We'd love to hear about it because I think it's a good topic. All right. So our website is tolabor.com. If you have questions for the podcast or you want to get in touch with us, email don't do that. Email ToRAISEQuestions@gmail.com. Check out our Facebook page. We have a new Facebook employee, a new social media employee who's awesome. And she's putting up lots of really great articles that are really great for you to share with your clients, either if you have your own business Facebook page, or if you want to just send, an active client an email that's like, oh, here's 5 positions, that are good for labor, just to let them know you're thinking about them. And workshops. We have a lot of workshops. We're still fleshing out our 2014 schedule. 2015.
I know, we've arrived.
Schedule. But we have some spaces for other workshops. We have some already scheduled. If you're interested, email tolaborworkshops@gmail.com. And our awesome coordinator will get in touch with you.
Right, Nicole. And if you're interested in possibly sponsoring a workshop, we're specifically looking for workshop sponsors in Boulder, in Albuquerque or Santa Fe, New Mexico, in the Bay Area or further north in San Francisco, Arizona, Florida, Vermont, quite a few places, or wherever you might be. Get in touch with us. We'd love to see if we can make that happen or help you find a workshop to attend otherwise.
Yep. All right, everybody. Thanks very much. Thanks for the work that you do.
Yeah, stay warm
Being
out there
a doula
wherever
is
you are.
no easy thing. And stay strong and let us know if you have anything you want to talk about.
Okay. Take care, everyone.
Bye-bye.